tinfoil hat all
That's the way to
made and
start a
cinched
show.
down tight over your ears. So take it away, Dave and Mickey.
For those on YouTube. This is Dave and Mecky's Shiny Side Out on WZZR, coming to you from Australia for Revolution Radio on revolution.radio. That's the website. That website is home to fresh, unfiltered ideas and conversations. You'll find those in the chat room, and it's also a great place to get your merchandise. Pardon me. I can't hit the mute button. My coughs are just completely out of the blue. Anyway, this is show number 607. As Mecky would say, 7 and 600. You can catch us on air, online, and anywhere on your smart device, so grab an app to listen anywhere or listen at home on a Grace tabletop digital radio. If you miss Solaris' show, it's okay. It's okay. You can always grab them in the archives. But tonight, you might want to listen to it because she had a Halloween show tonight with David Cook. I actually went to school with David Cook. Not sure if it's the same one. Madeline Rudy and Caroline Bell Tumblety. Oh my goodness me. My friend has sent me a text message showing Krusty the Clown in all of his goodness at the emergency broadcast bunker, where he says, kids can't be here, Mecky can't be here today, but instead we've got the next best thing. Yay! It's the Stingy and Battery Show. They bite and light and bite and light and die. Lie and yay, ay, ay, ay. You know what I'm talking about. Uh-oh. The hell is that? A lawnmower? I love that. That's really cool. Let's hope we don't sink to those depths today. Anyway, moving on. It's free to get free to access the archives. So do that, and not only check out Solaris' show, but there's a whole back catalogue. It's all in MP3 format. You can download it, binge it, do what you like. Look, you might be able to do that to our shows, or just someone else's. Just pick a random show and see how you go there. And the reason why I'm coughing so much is not my fault. I had an infusion for osteoporosis on Friday, and while they're giving me the infusion, they said, you might suffer some cold and flu symptoms afterwards. Just take some Panadol. Well, I'll tell you, Panadol does nothing for the cough. And I can't help it. And I apologise in advance for the whole 2 hours. I think Mecky's only running late, but he will be here a little later, he said. Last night I actually sounded like RFK when I was talking. I went out for dinner with some friends at the local Chinese restaurant called Peking Gardens. Very nice. I had my favourite, which is calamari with chili. It's like a tempura, but it's not. Lightly fried with very finely diced chili. Oh, delicious. Anyway, there's nothing that's going to clear that unless I just cough more. So it's going to come up every once in a while, and I cannot hit the mute button fast enough, right, for the cough. So I do apologise yet again. You know what? Since I said it's free to get into the archives, do that. I'll do it, Ben. I'm broadcasting out of Darkinjung country, and Mecky, when he joins, will be broadcasting from, hopefully, Daruk country, and we pay our respects to elders past, present, and future. We've got a state on fire, pretty much. That's Queensland. That's the eastern coast top half. Right? That's not going really well. A lovely day where I live. Just north of Sydney. Mackie's in Sydney. I live halfway between Sydney and Newcastle, which is a strategic position because if airports and military bases were to be nuked, this is halfway between both, and even with some of the largest weapons, they shouldn't be affected whatsoever. And well, that's the main point for me choosing this location. Plus, it's near to a natural water source. I have my own water as well. A bit of prepping, and it doesn't go astray. Okay, so I wanted to talk about some things immediately in the first hour. And I learnt today 2 people who I've respected on television have passed away in the last 2 days. One of them was Richard Mole. If you're a Night Court fan from the original Night Court, then he played the bailiff from the original Night Court series. Yeah, he's passed away. Oh man, now he was 80, right? He's probably had a good innings. The other one, Matthew Perry. Yeah, Robitussin. Yeah, it does nothing. I may as well just drink the bottle. Yeah, it does nothing for me. I can drink all of it, and honestly, I think I cough even more. It's meant to loosen up the phlegm. But the cough I have is an unsuccessful cough, and let's hope that doesn't get too bad, or I don't rupture something. All right, so Friends star Matthew Perry reported dead after suspected drowning, says the Yahoo News. I try to go to free news these days. How many paywalls do you discover? Yeah, apparent drowning, that's the one. Thanks, Gear Jammer. No, I didn't die, mate. I'm still here. Dave's still here. Yeah. So look, if only it was successful cough. Anyway. So, and the night air makes it even worse. For that matter, I should sit in a big dehydrator. That might help. Anyway, saying that, I've coughed so hard that it kind of triggers puking. So I'm being very careful. All right. So, and I don't think I've spoken much at all day, as is my wont when I have a show on. Oh boy. Hopefully that soothes it. Yeah, I'm not going to read that out. UFO cowboy. I was talking with some friends, right, during dinner, and one of them is new to the country, and it did remind me of a whole bunch of differences, and they came from England, and which is good. Don't really mind where you come from, but immediate differences were quite apparent. And that's the honeymoon period where you observe all the things that should be changed, and if you last without changing anything or mentioning anything, you just get used to it. It's great when a new employee starts. Sorry, hang on. I've got a comment. Yeah, I'm really sorry, man. I'm sorry for coughing so much, and I just feel like I have to cough between every word, and I'm holding it back. So, pardon me. And Meckie's going to be late. So, anyway, I wanted to talk about this thing. So, immediately apparent to the newly arrived English visitor was, there's so many things that are the same, but that there's these kind of really weird little tiny differences. So, you might go to a pub, for instance, and enjoy your favorite beer talking with friends, maybe watching some sport. But in Australia, you can not only do that, but you can, bet on Keno. You can, because of the pub tabs. I actually put those in back, 40 years ago. I was part of the first rollout of the pub tabs for the TAB. It's the Totalizer Agency Board, which is basically the betting company. So you can bet on Keno and lose. You buy a ticket and then watch none of your numbers come out, and at the end you just go over and check whether you won anything or not. Usually you don't. And or you can bet on the horses. There might be a little section of the bar where it's got some TV screen showing some horse racing or American football or Australian cricket or Australian NRL, rugby league or whatever. And you can bet on anything there, but you can also have like a counter lunch. You could have maybe a chicken palmy. Now he didn't know about He didn't know about it, that you could have a piece of chicken crumbed and then put on a plate, like deep fried, put on a plate, and then grilled with, say, tomato sauce and cheese melted on top. Grilled with that to melt the cheese. And then served up on a plate with either vegetables, mashed potato, or salad and chips, for some reason. So, he goes, "You what now? Like, and what do you call it?" It's a palmy or a parma. Depends on where you go, because there's pronunciation difference everywhere. But if you call it a parmigiana, you're going to win, because that's the universal name. It's the real name. And I thought that was really interesting. They didn't have that option. Yeah, there's other meals, right? You can get like fish and chips or whatever. But then he said, the chips. You go to a store and you buy chips. Like you can go to a roast chicken store that has chips and other salads and things, for instance. But the chips, you don't just get salt, or you don't get offered salt and vinegar. Because when I was a kid, I used to love salt and vinegar. They'd put the salt on and squirt some white vinegar onto the chips, roll it up into butcher's paper and tape it up. And then you just tear a hole in the thin end of the roll and eat it as you walked. Oh, so good. But no, he said, no, you don't get that at all. You don't get that option. What you get is, do you want salt or chicken salt? And he said it was a really acquired taste to choose the chicken salt. At first, he really didn't think anything was going on. Chicken salt, what? All right, well, I'll have some. It's barely salty. But like the second or third time, he realized there is no other choice. You don't choose salt. You just go with the chicken salt. Because it's so much better. Who knows why? But it is awesome. And to say that, coming from someone who's from the land of hot chips, where it was served on the docks more than 200 years ago. Deep fried potato products cut up into little strips and wrapped in newspapers. And that was the origin of hot chips, from what I understand. From a history lesson, in that same place where the people who have a cart and they go to the ship who's unloading, and you put the stuff, the people put the stuff on the cart and say, you take it to this place, and you just do. They were called carters. And the weird part about that is that's one of those origin name things. So people who have a surname of Carter were more likely to have had that job. Like as in, wow, my brain is gone. So someone who shoed horses and had a kiln and, a fire, and Smith because they were a blacksmith. The bakers. There's a whole bunch of names that come from roles that you used to play in your town, in your group. Anyway, so that we've got hot chips. And he goes, I would never ever order just plain salt anymore. Forget that, right? Chicken salt, number one. Got to have a chicken palmy with your chips, right? You don't do the vegetables, mashed potato, nah, right? Actually, I do, because I like vegetables, but they're usually so overcooked that you could just mush them. If you didn't have teeth, you could just squash them up to the palate of the roof of your mouth, and they would just, mush like mashed potato. And so mashed potato is actually pretty good. Bit of salt, and you're right. But see, you don't. If you go to a regular pub, you can have, oddly, you can have sweet potato chips as wedges. They're not cut in square cross section. They're just a triangle cross section, but they're, you just cut down onto one, and you get all these wedge shaped. The outside skin is left, and they're deep fried, and the insides are quite soft and almost liquidy, and they're perfect. And then you can get sour cream and sweet chili sauce to dip them. So they're like, they're not really chips, but they're you've got to think they're not going to bend when you put them into the sour cream. So, yeah, and that's really nice. It's usually a shared dish, right? When you go to the pub, and he goes, "Yeah, we didn't have those either," And then he said, "What's with the burgers?" I go, "What do you mean?" He goes, "No. You see, you have like white buns. You have a white bun cut in half, parallel to the ground, and then in between it you'll have a beef patty and lettuce and tomato, but you don't end there, and you might have some mustard if you want, or some pickle. There's kind of a little kind of McDonald's-y, right? But in Australia, you can have a fried egg. You can have on top of this, and if you get the Works burger, you'll get a slice of pineapple. It can be cooked, can be fried, pineapple slice, cord, and you'll get something like beetroot as well. Now, I'm going to say I was never a beetroot fan. I would never say, "Oh, yes, please, mother. May I please have some beetroot as a side dish with my steak," or whatever, right? With my macaroni cheese. No, you never eat it on its own. It's always sliced super thin and is a layer on your delicious Works burger, which means everything. And there's two challenges. One, you've got to be able to bite it, but it's usually too tall to bite all at once. And the second challenge is the white bread can dissolve because of the tomato and any of the juices that come off the meat. So you've got a time attack challenge, right, of being able to consume it before the bun dissolves. And the other is it's too challenging because it's too tall. And you don't pluck things out, you just wrestle with it. And then he said meat pies. And I go, "What do you mean? You've got meat pies?" He goes, "Yeah, but we have like super large single chunks of meat that are as like a pork pie, right? And some pies that have two sections on the inside. So you'll have the savoury side, then you'll have the sweet side. You eat that as the dessert." I said, "Yeah, I know." And then it was one of the American guys goes, "I don't understand the pie thing, because you could have it for breakfast, lunch, doesn't really matter, dinner. It comes in a small paper thing like the McDonald's fries, little small fries, that kind of paper thing. It comes in a bag like that. And the only way to eat it, to truly eat it, is to hold it vertically so that it's tall, not flat like a pie would be, or sitting on a plate. You hold it vertically so you're seeing it as the circle of the pie at eye level, right? Then you've got to eat it in such a way as to not crush the pie, because the contents are going to be extraordinarily hot. You've got to nibble at it and take the filling with you as you go. And there's an art, a definite art to it. And then he said, what's in a Chico roll? Now, a Chico roll looks like a really big dim sum. Sorry, not dim sum, spring roll. But it's not. It's just a tube with, I'm gonna regret this, cabbage and salt, and it's like it's a veggie roll pretty much, right? And it's deep fried, and that's really good. That's just all you do is put salt on it. That's it. I mean, you could call that, in the olden days when I was growing up, that would have been like breakfast of champions. But I had to make this distinction, right? Because you can get a plain pie with it's like small meat chunks and gravy. And then you can get a pepper pie, which is exactly the same thing, just with a ton of pepper in it. I mean, so much so that, it's almost annoying, but it's not. I've never eaten a pepper steak pie, where I was disappointed there was too much pepper. But it's certainly a lot of pepper. And because I think last week we talked about near foods and companies or fast foods taking all of this revenue that all these other vendors, these not street vendors, but small family-owned businesses, they took all that money away, right? By offering exactly the same thing, 1,000 burgers in, and you've just eaten the same thing. It doesn't matter. But in this leveling of being able to make something with so much sugar and so much salt, impossible to detect either are in it. So with this perfect balance of over salting and over sugaring any meal that you have there, right? So this is the thing, right? So when you go to one of those small vendors, one of those family-owned burger shops, or corner milk bars or whatever they used to be, when you go there, I think they've got where I go on holidays, there's a fish and chip place that does burgers as well, so you can get everything you want, right? Everything under one roof. It's just tremendous. And you go, I'd like a Works burger, and I know I'm never going to be disappointed with it. It's not going to have too much salt. It's got almost no sugar, unless there is some something in the buns, but usually it's just real bread. I mean, it's honestly real bread. And I've got to segue from real bread to the next thing. Hey there, g'day all, says Acid Trip 69. I've got UFO Cowboy in there, Gear Jammer. There's a bunch of people in the chat room. If you're not in the chat room, you are missing out. And I'm in there. Flippy's in there, and I can't read half those names, right? Anyway, I'm just saying a big shout out to the people in the chat room. So it's no news for an Australian to hear this, but for people in other lands, it is something else. So you can have, when you go to the hardware store, I went there this morning, and our brand, like a Walmart that doesn't sell furniture or electronics, that's what it really is. It's all types of hardware, every kind of bit of hardware. It's got a Bunnings. So at Bunnings, you can get, cleaning stuff, lots of tools, roofing materials. You're going to build a wall or something, you can buy all that there. It doesn't really matter what you want to do. If you're a home handyman, it's got everything for you. So, it's got doors and things too for internals. And I don't think I've ever bought Gyprock or anything there, but I'm sure that they have that. And if you're doing architrave or, maybe wainscoting, you could do that. You can buy all the panels and everything for that. So it's a timber, wood and hardware place that also has, cleaning products and Christmas ornaments, and it's got a whole bunch of things. But it isn't Costco. and it isn't Walmart. Right? You can buy outdoor furniture and things like that, and gazebos, and you can build them yourself, or you can buy things pre-constructed. You can get barbecues there as well, and smokers, and a whole bunch of really cool things. So I've gone there to go. Oh, they've got plants. I should say that. So they've got a whole plant section in every one that I know of, and you can buy, all the composts and pots and plants and all manner of things, right, for outside as well as inside. Anyway, so I'm there, and when you exit, you get the chance of getting your sausage. No, it's not a euphemism. Your sausage on a piece of bread with, maybe tomato sauce or barbecue sauce. You can have onion and mustard. But that isn't a thing people do in other countries. It's kind of not really the same as a hot dog because it's not a bun. What's the point of having a bun when you can just use bread? Why not just a single slice of bread? He was kind of really shocked. But loves it nonetheless. So there's a barbecue at the exit where you can just, buy yourself and a can of drink for $5. Get a barbecued sausage on a piece of bread with your favorite sauce, onions or no onions. So no onions is without. The default is with. And there you go, right? And the proceeds go to, it's operated, not owned and operated, just operated by, all the machinery is owned by the Bunnings itself. But the volunteers that cook it are for usually a non-profit organisation trying to raise revenue. And they might have 5 or 6 people. And in fact, to cook the sausages, you have to have undergone a certificate course on cooking sausages, believe it or not. It's something else. Anyway, I learnt that because I've been part of the scouting movement here, whether I was treasurer or the secretary or whatever, for our local group, not district, just local. We were trying to raise money for a jamboree where the kids go overseas. Anywho, they was shocked. Like, we even have what's called a democracy sausage, is when you have to, because it's compulsory to vote. So when you go to vote, there is a barbecue. You can buy pre-made cakes and things as well as people earning some, side coin. But you can get exactly the same thing there. It's like we love the sausage sizzle. That's what it's called. We love it. He goes, I've never seen anything like it. You go to vote and you get a sausage as well, right? That's awesome. Everyone's got to pay for it, but you go to the hardware store and there's another sausage, right? So the Bunnings chain of stores is owned by the same company that owns one of the 2 great retail grocery store chains. So in Australia we have Woolworths and Coles. They're owned up the tree. Higher than those 2 companies is some, proprietary limiteds. But at the level of the grocery store of Woolworths and Coles, the peer, hey Mecky, the peer company is Bunnings. So for Coles, Bunnings is in that same tree of companies. And between the 2 of those companies, they own almost everything. So I don't want to go too deep into this, but Becky, what I was doing is pointing out the differences in cuisine in Australia, and I've touched on the sausage sizzle that you can get it when you vote or when you go to Bunnings. Hamburgers.
Democracy sausage. Yay!
Democracy sausage. Yeah, that's right. So the other one is a hamburger with the lot that is not McDonald's, that has pineapple, fried egg, and beetroot, well as and lettuce and tomato, and it's almost impossible to eat because it's too big for your mouth. You've got to turn into a thylacine to be able to open your mouth large enough to eat it, right? And quick enough so the bread doesn't dissolve.
That's the truth.
And the other one was chicken salt, because that's not a worldwide thing.
Yeah, no, actually, I recently bought chips for my girls at the swimming. It's like a swimming center, right?
Yeah.
And that every Friday they've got the swimming lessons there. There's also a tuck shop, and the kids always want chicken salt. And the lady, she's actually really good. Her fries are just astounding. Anyway, the point is, she goes to me, you realize that chicken salt is Australian. You go travel anywhere, there's no chicken salt. And I thought about this for a second, because I've traveled everywhere.
You have.
And that is absolutely 100% correct. There's no chicken salt anywhere except Australia. Maybe New Zealand.
You can now buy it from Coles or Woolworths. There's a grocery store. You can buy it in a small container for yourself, which we've done. But my mate from England, Mackie, was completely astonished that there was a choice.
Yeah.
And he goes, but where's the vinegar? Because he doesn't like salt and vinegar on his chips, right?
Yeah. What? Vinegar? What?
When I was a kid, you used to get that, right?
Yeah.
And he goes, no. The first time he ate it, he was kind of a little let down, because it wasn't as salty as his taste buds expected. And then the second time, or the third time, he abandoned the salt entirely just for chicken salt. Now he's a convert.
Chicken salt or normal? Both.
Yeah, I know. I've done that before too. Done the little dance. There's the TV commercial where the guy goes into the fish and chips shop, and the lady who's just about to salt his chips from the fryer says, "Salt or chicken salt?" And for that small comic pause, he just answers both.
Yeah.
Then everyone in the store does a dance.
Oh yeah, and there's this knowing nod.
Yeah.
From the fish and chip proprietor. Yeah. She doesn't say yeah or anything, but it's just a nod. But you know what she's actually, what it means is, yeah, you know what it is, and the guy goes, yeah, I know what it is. Because none of them are saying that, but that's what they're saying, but they're not saying it.
if you watch any kind of meme that has sound, you might hear that gangster da 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 da. It's with the gangster sunglasses, the bit OG, right? I don't. Mackie doesn't probably know what I'm talking about.
I know what you mean. I'm gangster. What are you talking about? I got
you're OG, Mackie.
I'm so gangster, man.
Yeah, I'm OG from the OC.
That's what you are.
Because I went to school in California in Orange County, and so that was my big point there. And I also mentioned Matthew Perry's passing.
Yeah.
From Friends, yeah.
He's my age, that's
I know,
sobering.
it's not right.
Right, wrong, indifferent. I mean, look, I loved his comedy. I loved his performance. I really did. I watched he's done a couple of movies. In fact, one of my favorites was Two to Tango. That was brilliant. But look, the problem is Hollywood is not for everybody. And by that I mean you are exposed to drugs and alcohol, maybe more than other people, because it's just what it is. So it can really test your mettle, right?
You could, yeah, I know. How stoic?
It's a shame.
How stoic can you be to your morals? I know, right?
Well, it's a shame. It's a shame.
It is. And the other person that passed away, Maggie, was also Richard Mole. Now, you might not know him by his real name, but if you were a Night Court fan, he was the bailiff.
Oh, yeah, he was
from the original series.
He was the big guy, scary looking, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I remember him.
Yeah. Well,
he's
passed.
Oh,
he was 80, right?
Yeah,
let's not beat around the bush, right?
Well, yeah, still.
Poor fellow. But yeah. Look, we're at the age. Did you know there was actually a prophecy about this? About all the famous people dying.
Really?
Yeah. And the prophecy didn't suggest that only the famous people died. But because we're so connected today, it makes sense that we would have, our finger on the pulse. for this, that we would be more aware that they were passing.
I think that's probably true. I think there's just more media saturation of these things.
Yeah.
And you never forget anyone's birthday because Facebook reminds you, right?
Yeah, that's right.
It's just, the way it goes.
Thank you for that, for getting me out of trouble.
Right? I hear you. Did you mention Gaza? Because there's
No, I haven't. I was waiting for you to come on.
Oh, and I do apologize for being late. I was yet again stuck in traffic. It's funny in Sydney. This is a phenomenon I've observed over the last 30 years now. When it rains, there are two times when Sydneysiders forget how to drive. They just forget everything. Everything that they learned about driving goes right out the brain. I don't know where it goes, but it disappears. When it rains, and when it's a really nice day. Okay, it's a really sunny day.
Even with a nice day, everyone's out there like pork chops.
Yeah, and none of them remembers how to drive. And when it rains, they go, there's stuff coming from the sky. God cries. What's going on? I'm crying. I don't know what. And they forget how to drive completely. It really is. It's something to behold.
So a friend of mine from England that I had dinner with last night, he said something very similar. He said in England, it's raining most of the time. I mean, the roads are usually wet, and if it isn't, it must be like a really hot day, and you get a couple of days without any rain, right? But I'm thinking, hang on a minute. When in Australia, because it's dry mostly, and when it rains, all of the oil that's dropped by all the vehicles rises to the top. Because we don't get that truly heavy rain unless there's a thunderstorm or something, right? And then you don't know whether you're going to get pummeled with hail or not. Like hail so large that it'll dent the roof of your car and smash straight through your windows, right? And so I don't know. Is it fear, stupidity, ignorance? I don't know. Maybe it's a combination. I'd like to do a Venn diagram.
I'd like to think it's a sprinkle. It's a sprinkle of it all.
Because when it sprinkles, that's when the most slipperiness occurs, and people they still kind of think, oh, it's okay, I can still take this corner at the right speed, and suddenly they're turning around, going, what happened?
Yeah, what exactly? What happened? Don't you worry about that, brother. We all know what happened. No, but look, what worries me is this, Dave. To be serious, just for fraction here. We now have reached, I think, active. I mean, this is now active military operations in the Gaza. Yeah, the tanks are in there. Bombardments are still, going on significantly. Turkey is falling out with Israel, which is surprising because they feel the Turkish president Recep Tayyip Erdogan, right? The guy, he's quite conservative and all that, and look, Turkey has been having good relations with Israel for a long time, but he says that Israel is behaving like a war criminal in the way it's bombing Gaza, right? And apparently, thousands of people are being killed in Gaza, every day.
I think 10,000 now in total.
Yeah, and thousands of children, specifically, right? That they're mention is being made. Okay, this is going to be very callous. But I got you. You need to understand what is happening here. It is really important because if you don't understand what's happening, you will not understand why the things are happening the way they are.
And what happens next? Yep.
Bingo. Now, Israel needs to get rid of Hamas. Ideally, Hezbollah at some point, but certainly Hamas, right? Because that's a Palestinian organization. Hezbollah is not. Hezbollah is a Lebanese organization. Right, but Hamas is right at the doorstep. It's a Palestinian organization. It's sort of replaced the PLO in its militancy. Think of it as the real IRA as compared to the IRA, right? That's sort of a good comparison. I don't know if you remember the Irish or the troubles in Ireland. This is similar, and it's right at the doorstep, and that's why, in my opinion, this is going to sound horrible, but in my opinion, the attack that was undertaken by Hamas, and I'm not disputing that Hamas attacked at all. I'm not saying this didn't happen. 100% it happened. But I believe that Israel let that happen. Or, worst case scenario, encouraged and or helped it to happen. Why? Well, see, you have to look at cost and benefit analysis here, right? Hamas has been a thorn in Israel's side for a long time. Netanyahu is got a shaky government. I mean, Israel has always had shaky governments. Now they're united behind a cause. The cause, of course, is to get rid of Hamas. And just like the United States after 9/11, Israel has almost spent all of its sympathy dollars in the bombing on
That's
Gaza.
a really good way to put it.
Yeah, when it first happened, right, Dave?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody goes, "Oh my God, Hamas, horrible, animals, terrorists, dreadful. Yes, let's line up behind Israel." But now, protests are being held in aid of the Palestinians, because again, Hamas, I think we said, had some, 25,000 members or thereabouts.
Mm-hmm.
Let's call it that. There's 2.5 million people in the Gaza Strip, so that's 0.01% of the population that are Hamas members. Now let's assume there's also a good chunk of people that support Hamas. Maybe even 10%. Maybe 10% of the population support Hamas indirectly or directly or whatever, right? But I guarantee you, not everybody will. Because people just want to live their lives. Just let me be, right? I don't want anything to do with this. It's not for me. So at the very least, 1.8 million innocent people are being bombarded back into the Stone Age. And in fact, that's not even true. They're being bombarded off the planet.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, 1.8 million people, and this is going to go on and on and on. And that's the turning point. So Israel needed this to happen, to get rid of Hamas, because this attack, and I'll keep harping on about it, but this attack is inconceivable. It is inconceivable. It's like the moon-Earth-solar relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Its non-existence is easier to explain than its existence. Okay? Just like 9/11.
Yeah.
What happened in 9/11 defies all rational logic explanation.
That's right.
If you assume that the American system of intelligence and security, etc., work. If you assume it doesn't work, fair enough, right? Because for that one day, it did not at all. And
Mm-hmm.
it's similar here. It did not work at all. It failed completely. And Hamas managed to attack significantly and kill the largest number of Israelis, and by extension of Jews, because the largest chunk of Israeli citizens are Jewish, since World War II.
Yep. Well,
Now,
Becky, our media here is now showing nothing but, the coverage of the Palestinian deaths.
well,
And that's all
these are
they're
the only
showing.
people dying right now. So,
Well, that's they focus always on the bad, right?
They do.
So we wouldn't like to continue to support in the media from the Western view that Israel is correct in what they're doing, because that would only then put into jeopardy our way of life. I was thinking about this today, and I kind of came up with it. I mean, it's a stupid premise, but we're not still focusing on Israel and all the deaths. Now that the death total is higher on the other side, we've kind of switched sides.
It's the
I mean,
It's now the
it's the
outrage.
ambulance chasing the the racing so they could pick up the people who are injured, right?
Yeah. And look, it's the same with the Ukraine, right? We said this before. Once the Ukrainians start taking Russian territory, then we still feel bad for the Ukrainians, right? That's
Yeah.
It's the same kind of thing. This is where we now, okay, so Hamas, a splinter organization, has attacked. It's like if the Ku Klux Klan
Mm-hmm.
had gone into Mexico and killed 2,000 Mexicans
Mm-hmm.
across the border, right somewhere there, yeah?
Mhm.
Across the Rio Grande, they go there, they kill 2,000 Mexicans, and then then the Mexicans retaliate, come back, and then they're gonna bomb Texas.
Sure.
That's the same
Uh-huh.
in kind.
Mhm.
It's the same in kind as to what happened here. You got a whole bunch of Palestinians living in the Gaza, and a few of them attacked, inflicted significant damage. But like I said, the ratio has been at least 10 to at least 100 to 1
Yeah.
when it came to retaliatory strikes. So for every Israeli that dies, 10 or 100, between 10 and 100 Palestinians will die. I think if we now exceeded 10 to 1, I think we'll go to 100 to 1. I think that's where we are heading.
Well,
and children. Now,
that's right.
From the point of view of this is going to sound really terrible, but from the point of view of the Israelis, that's really good. Why? Well, if you kill the children, that's a whole generation of troublemakers gone, man.
I know, and look, I don't want YouTube to ban us or anything like that. We're hypothesizing and assuming the roles of both the attacker and like the offensive and defensive. So,
look, absolutely, but you've done this is realpolitik.
Yeah, that's right.
If you close your eyes, this is like I said, I'm rereading Confessions of an Economic Hitman, the 3rd edition. Now written, it was published this year and or late last year, and it includes the Chinese road and bridge initiative. The point is this: you can ignore it, right? But the reality is that this is reality. People in power will sacrifice other people. Every day they do it. And you know why? They're not going to lose any sleep over it. Because that's just what they do. Why? Because it suits my purposes. Thank you very much. I've created generational wealth. I've created an empire. Okay? And there's a whole bunch of families and governmental organizations, et cetera, that work together here. So it's big business. It's the NSA, the CIA, other security and safety and secret service agencies. The military, governments, they all are working together in collusion to further the aims of the few, the rich, and I'm talking about the super rich, the 1% of the 1%, the parasites, right? Their aims are the only thing that matters. Do you know that there were wars in South America over bananas? The term banana republic comes from a time when America, the United States, were engaged in warfare over securing the rights to banana plantations. So they installed dictators that were favorable to American banana interests. I know it sounds insane. I know as I'm saying it, it sounds like a skit from the Three Stooges, but it's true. It's absolutely true. And then, of course, things changed. There was oil, then came other things, rare minerals, whatever water. It doesn't really matter what the resource is. And there's other considerations, like a vote in the UN, like a friendly nation where you can have a military presence in case you need to deploy quickly somewhere, like a barracks or some kind of garrison, which now all the stands have, as far as America is concerned. So that's where we are. That's where we're living. These people don't care one iota whether or not you live or die. In fact, the preference is probably you dead. That's probably the preferred state. Oh yeah, well, if you had the choice of these people being alive or dead, what would you choose? I think dead is good. Yeah, that works for me. They only need enough people to service their needs. That's what they need. Yeah. People to service their needs. And people go, oh no, the government would never do this. This is insane. They would never kill their own people. They kill their own people every day. Every day. We talked about this, Dave. We talked about the experiments with radioactive isotopes.
That's right.
In cities. We talked about the generals that sent their soldiers into a nuclear blast area. After the blast, mind you. So they're not going to get blown up. But after the blast, they sent soldiers in to see what the radiation would do.
While the cloud was still rising into the air.
Let's go in there. Just do some dusting. Just just go now, go. The Russians were shooting people. So they had machine guns, but the machine guns in World War II, they were shooting the people that were running away from the Nazis. Okay? That's who they were shooting. Their own people. They said, you go and had like one rifle between 5 men. Go on and to try to overwhelm them, which eventually they did with numbers, right? They have no qualm. I mean, Stalin killed 20 million people. Mao killed probably more, 30 or 40 or maybe 50 million people, right? Pol Pot killed millions. And look, you go to any country in the last 150 years, 100 years.
Hmm.
You look at what happened there, people trying to catch up economically, trying to do this and that, reforms, communism, socialism, capitalism, fascism, Nazism. It doesn't really matter what ism it is. They killed millions, if not tens of millions of their own population. Oh, but the government would never harm you, because, it's just not right, Dave. Not right.
I mean, you say it's not right. So let's have a look at what a leaflet campaign can do, Mackie. Very little. Right? We'll take two separate events and litter the other person's town with evacuation orders. If you go here, we won't bomb you there, right? So you go there, and then what do people do? They stay, right? I don't know if it was in the wrong language.
Sanskrit? No!
Sanskrit?
Not Sanskrit! But you said it's the mother of all languages. Oy vey.
Yeah, it might very well be, but no one can read it. Can you read it? I didn't know what it said. Thanks for getting a work experience kid to create the leaflets, right? The flyer campaign. But they dropped the flyers all over the area in which they asked in the leaflet to evacuate. It's all good. Just do that. And of course, no one pays any attention to it. And maybe 10% stayed. I don't know what the numbers would be, but you get an advice to leave, or you'll get bombed, and then you get bombed. It's like the guy in the pub that you looked at him sideways, right? Mistakenly, or didn't even at all, but they believe you did. Who goes, let's go outside, and you go, why? And they go, so I can beat your head in. And you go, I'd prefer not, if you wouldn't mind, right? It's all good. You're welcome to go out on your own, or I can buy you a drink. Just don't worry about it, right? I'm failing to see that it was adhered to. If so many people are being killed, then is it that one Hamas person is in a building complex with 200 civilians as protection? I don't know.
The thing is this, Dave. So yes, you're right. The leafletting and whatnot, they said, go south. Go to the Rafah crossing into Egypt and get out of the north. That's what the Israelis said. And then they started bombing the Rafah crossing.
Uh-huh.
So even if people people did heed some of it, right? Not everybody, as you said, but some people did. And you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. So if I stay, I get bombed. But if I go to the Rafah crossing, you're going to bomb me too. So
yeah,
what, right?
Remember,
seriously.
Russia did that too. They said the corridor was going to be open for 24 hours.
Yep.
And then they started bombing the corridor.
We should really have learned by now, right? That you can't trust anyone.
You can't trust that authority, right? Okay, so this is, I think, something we should all heed. If there is a warning, probably leave, right? I said probably. If the warning to leave is from an authority like Bushfire Services or something like that, then do leave. If it's from the police, then leave. If it's your enemy dropping flyers and they're threatening to, and you know the background to it, look, use your best judgment, right? I'm not going to say don't do it because that would be inappropriate. But I'm really surprised at this point in time that there can be so much dishonesty. Actually, I'll wash my mouth out because I have to understand. I'm smart enough to know, Mickey, that there's the top of the hour. I'm smart enough to know that they all lie. Doesn't matter who's telling you the truth in their truth. Hey, this is the end of the first hour. Stay tuned after the short break. If you're on YouTube, there'll be a new video for that one. But take the time to donate, and we'll catch you in a minute.